Well, with round 19 put to bed, let's stand 20 metres out in front and bang another one through. This is the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here's a bloke who, as far as I can tell, is not about to retire this afternoon.
One of the few that's not. We've had
Titus O'Reilly.
Pritis last week.
Pritis, yeah.
We thought it was going to be Sam Mitchell. I've heard that Mitchell is still going to retire, and then when it became clear that Pritis was retiring, they didn't want to do both at once and take away from each other. That's what I've heard.
Ah, okay.
So it's not that the Mitchell one won't happen.
So he is. I mean, when has a club ever had two Brownlow medalists retire on the same day?
Not often. So there's not going to be many left at West Coast.
No.
They're a good old-fashioned clean out.
Well, half of them will get delisted, David King suggested that Mark Lacroix should never play another game. And I think he meant not just for West Coast, just ever in his life. But so I reckon they're going to have a massive clean out at West Coast because they are a very old side, and they've got some big forwards, but their midfield has lacked pace for some years, and with Pritis going, they'll need to revamp that.
Yeah, it's and Mitchell hasn't exactly. He's been solid, but without the pace around him and stuff.
Yeah, I don't think it's done his brand any good. Having another 12 months out west.
We should also mention, first I just want to thank our supporters for enabling us to do this. You can become a supporter at titusoreilly.com. Go on there, and if you want to support us churn out this nonsense, you can. You can get a T-shirt or a mug as part of becoming a supporter. And I just mailed out a heap of them.
Did you really?
Last week, yeah, and a bunch for people who've won T-shirts
Have you sent the T-shirt to Emma Quayle from the GWS yet?
I'm not sure. I don't think I have. I better get on to that. I promised
her about 8 times.
Yeah, it's falling down my end. We should also mention the tours on sale. So that's the bye week.
Yeah.
So starting August 31st.
Going right through.
6 cities in 6 nights. We're going to Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Brisbane, Canberra and Sydney.
Yeah, hardest working men in show business. We have our production staff and creative team working on the show as we speak.
As in you and I.
That'd be you and me, yeah. We better do something.
The other news that's come out this morning is talking of retirements is Nick Riewoldt likely to announce his retirement.
I think in a couple of hours' time, he's having the presser with him and Alan Richardson, and the big word is that, Nick Riewoldt's about to retire, so which will give him another 2 or 3 games.
Nick Riewoldt's an interesting one because I find a lot of people really don't like him.
Yeah.
And others do. But he's kind of a weirdly...
He seems to be universally respected, but
he's sort of a polarising figure, and I don't really...
know why.
Well, there's not an incident... There's not many incidents you can point to and go... No. But there's, if you're talking about someone nowhere near as good a player, you say someone like, people seem to not like Thomas Bugg. You go, because of this incident and that incident, or
even his old teammate, Brendan Goddard. I can see why people don't like Goddard.
Yeah, there's there's an obvious moment where they, hit someone or they did something that was of great, But Riewoldt, I'm trying to think of things that are. He was sort of caught up in that.
The nude photo thing didn't help.
Well, that didn't help, but that wasn't. I don't know. It was that.
And it wasn't him who set fire to the Dwarves.
No, he was. He might have been present. Being involved in St Kilda during some of that period was the whole St Kilda schoolgirl period and everything was not exactly good for anyone's brand.
No, nobody was branded well there, except maybe those Dwarves. But
I think where I think Riewoldt gets a bit of backlash is he's portrayed in the media often and seen by St Kilda fans often as one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of people think he's not quite an all-time great, so they kind of see it as a little bit
been elevated before his time, perhaps.
Well, I think they think he's a very, an excellent player, one of the best of his generation, but he's not quite in that top echelon. But he's often promoted as in that top echelon.
I would say, he's a great player, but is he one of the all-time greats? Don't know.
Yeah.
Is he a Hall of Famer? He probably will be. But he's going to have to wait a little while.
Yeah. He can run all day, though.
He can run all day.
I think that
he covers a lot of ground.
See, because I don't really mind him. I don't really have anything against him, but I've found the vitriol that often will come his way, and I think people just don't like him more than anything else.
I don't know.
Try to figure this out before.
Can you see? him doing much in the media. See, Joey Montagna...
He's not Mr. Charismatic.
No, see, Montagna, if he retires, which he may well do also, but not today. He won't take the spotlight off his mate. It's looking like he'll almost have
to because of injuries and everything.
I think he will slot straight into the media because he's been doing a lot of it the last few years, preparing himself.
Yeah.
But Riewoldt, I'm not sure. He's just going to run pubs or... He owns a couple of pubs.
He's married. His wife's American, isn't he?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
He might
head off and live in Hawaii.
Land of the semi-free.
Yeah.
Who knows? So anyway, but there's no doubt he's been St Kilda's best.
Yeah.
And one of her best ever.
And still that mark he took, I think, was it 2009?
The one running
back
backward,
against the Pack is still one of the all-time great grabs.
Oh, he's a brave player. I mean, that's why I sort of find it a bit hard.
And he does cover a lot of ground and can run all day.
He can run all day. That's the one thing. He's one of those players that falls into the, you get told the same thing about him every time. And it's kind of like, we know, we get it.
Yeah. And because he's a centre-half forward / full forward, you don't expect them to be able to run all day. Yeah. Joey Montagna, you expect him to run all day.
Yeah, no one says, there's a few, it falls into that trap of like the, Pendlebury's got a basketball background,
exactly.
And they say it with breathless,
No one looks at the current St Kilda side and says, that Josh Bruce, he can run all day.
Do you think anyone outside of basically the Channel 7 commentary team and footy media more broadly, do you think any average fan cares one iota if a player has a basketball background?
Not really, no.
I've never heard anyone at the pub sidle up to you and go, oh, this new player we've recruited, you used to play basketball.
Well, see, 30 years ago that might have been a bit of a novelty. But now, I guarantee you, 90% of kids who are into sport of any type or who are half good at sport, they play basketball anyway. Like my son has been playing for years. Every kid in his footy team plays basketball.
As well,
it's not an uncommon thing, whereas I think some of the older people in the footy media still reckon it's a bit of a novelty.
I know, and it used to be that, some of the players that identify played at quite a high level.
Yes.
But now sometimes they mention it even if they seem to have just played at under 16s or something. It's not even
He played for the Sabres down at Sandringham.
Why did someone pick you used to play badminton on summer holidays down in his beach house? Got a badminton background.
I heard someone say about Christian Petrarca the other week, you do know he was a very good basketballer. And I'm thinking, another?
Yeah.
Because who's his best mate? The guy who just went, the Australian guy who went number 1 draft pick last year.
Ben Simmons?
Yeah, Ben Simmons, who's his best mate. They play basketball all through.
So Ben Simmons might earn a bit more money than Petrarca.
I think his contract.
Do you think all these AFL players that give up basketball to chase AFL, is that when they realise they're not good enough, they're not tall enough for basketball, basically?
There must have been a few listening to the radio the other day on every station. Paddy Mills was in town.
Yeah.
And Paddy Mills not only qualifies for the good bloke status. You can just tell with every interview he did.
Yeah.
But the footballers must be going, he's just signed a 4-year deal with the San Antonio Spurs for $65 million. And he ain't LeBron James.
And Joe Ingles, his was 64 million or something?
It's a lot.
Jazz?
It's a lot of dough.
It's huge.
Dustin Martin must be thinking, geez, my one a year at Richmond's going to be pretty average.
Yeah.
But, as you say, they've all got basketball backgrounds, apparently.
It's wonderful stuff.
It is.
The sleeping giant of Australian sports.
And some can run all day.
Some of those basketballs can run all day. Now, Serge, sometimes I think if I ever commit a crime of any sort, I hope people defend me to the hilt the way the Victorian media have been defending Dangerfield for his tackle on the weekend. He for those who didn't see it, he tackled Cruiser.
It was Matthew Cruiser,
into the ground. He had both his arms pinned. Cruiser didn't have the ball, although some argue Dangerfield wouldn't have known that because it came in. And he drove him head first into the turf hard.
Knocked him out. He was
concussed and didn't play for the rest of the game. Now, reading the media, I did love it. So first it started off as, look, it doesn't look great, but I think he'll be okay. That was sort of the whole tenor of the thing.
At the start.
And Dangerfield couldn't have known. And then Channel 7 even got Dangerfield to come on to sort of... And Dangerfield came on and cleared himself and announced that there was nothing in it. Yeah. Nothing to see here. And I thought, oh, that's good. The player involved has cleared himself.
This is what...
Well, why have a match review panel?
This is what Basher Hooley and Thomas Bug, that was their... They should have gone on Channel 7 Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
No problem.
No, that's right.
Here, nothing going on here.
So then you have Dangerfield and come out and think... And then it started to dawn on people as they probably watched it a few times that he did seem to...
Maybe he does have something to
with
answer.
both arms pinned, he didn't exactly pull up in the tackle. He really did. And then the fact the guy was concussed, the AFL for some reason always take into account.
Exactly.
And so you got to look at it and go...
It's not the go anymore.
Yeah. I mean, and there's been a few players that have been done at least a week or two for doing similar things. So, the fact that if it wasn't for the... Brownlow factor, you would have said he'd probably be gone easily, and now people are saying, well, But then people came out not only defending that he probably wasn't guilty. They said, well, if he is found guilty, we should change the criteria to the Brownlow and take away fairest. And I'm like,
respected journos have been writing columns about it since Saturday.
Well, I don't know if there's such a thing as a respected journo search.
And as you say, the footy media was all over this at the start, defending him. And then come Saturday night, it wasn't just the existing footy media. It was ex-AFL players who were all over Twitter as well, defending him and suggesting. But as you say, and now they're saying that the Brownlow criteria should be changed to make sure that he's still eligible.
It's like if you say to someone, my client did not commit this murder, but if they did, murder should not be illegal. It should not be and it's like they're the rules. I mean,
and if he did kill that person, it was in the we can't retrospectively convict someone.
That's right.
Of this charge.
The thing about where people always dial this one up about the Brownlow, it's not the first time about the fairest clause and then wanting to get rid of the fairest clause. My problem with the Brownlow isn't the fairest bit. Yeah. You can argue the merits of that a lot. It's the fact it's voted on by the umpires.
Correct.
It has always been. It's a midfielder's medal. It's never. It always differs, or not always, but often differs from who the players or the coaches vote.
Coaches, or even the media.
Or even the media. Yeah. And the difference is, one, the umpires are not watching the game. This is the thing that amazes me.
Haven't they got enough on their plate?
They are not watching the game. They are, officiating allegedly
they're part of the game.
And they're officiating it. They now that there's not just even one of them, they're not all covering the whole game, and they don't get to, as other people do, rewatch the game, see replays.
Yeah, that's right. They've got to whack their votes in straight after
the game, right? It's just not. It's not a method that's conducive to I think the best outcome.
No, I agree, and also the thing with the umpires is that, and you see it the way. I mean, this is not all of them, but some of them, the way they officiate, a lot of them don't demonstrate, in my opinion, a good understanding of how the game is actually played. I mean, ex-players, and you don't have to have played at the highest level to maybe be a good umpire, but it seems to me a lot of the guys who are umpire have been specialist umpires since they were kids, and they don't really get what's really happening out there. And you see it with some of the silly, deliberate calls. They just don't understand what players are really doing.
Yeah.
So are they the best ones to judge? The thing is, the AFL aren't going to change that. It's always going to be voted on by the umpires.
Yeah.
I can't see them taking the fairest bit out as well. And somebody else said over the weekend, this just proves that the Brownlow is the most overrated award in football, even though it's the most sort of prestigious and coveted one. But yeah, it doesn't.
I think the AFLPA one is actually
the players regard that,
or the coaches one.
Yeah,
I think they're
the
two
MVP from the Players Association is regarded very, very highly by the players.
That makes more sense to me because you can see the whole thing. Paul Lepore wrote in, how many weeks will Cruiser get for endangering Dangerfield's Brownlow chances?
He should have thought that through, Cruiser, shouldn't he?
Really was. I got a few questions. I didn't include them. I got a bunch about, will Cruiser get done for staging for that? So, and I see
dive.
Jimmy Bartell on the match review panel. He should be pretty harsh on Geelong. So anyway, who knows? Sean wrote in, does Patrick Dangerfield have any comedy props he plans to bring to the tribunal to distract them?
That's not a bad idea. I mean, like he's obviously referring to the other week when,
he showed up bandaged and
bandaged
everything.
with crutches.
Well, you always said, who were you saying? What show was always, the Late Show always knew that get a big novelty prop.
Graham and the Colonel. Rob Sitch told us when Graham and the Colonel were struggling, grab a big prop.
So do you think that's what Dangerfield should do?
He should get like a big giant goal umpire's hat or something.
I'm quietly confident, and I'll be proven wrong as soon as I say this, that he'll get a week or two for it. I think he could get a week.
I reckon he'll get off.
Yeah, the only reason...
Or he'll get a fine or something, but I cannot see them opening up this can of worms of Dangerfield suddenly being ineligible for the Brownlow.
But how does that... I mean, I know you're probably right in reality, but in the... Why should that matter at all? Like, the whole point of the tribunal is not to, worry about whether you're impacting on awards or not. Like, this is what I find amazing is when ex-players and some that have been on tribunal panels and stuff all say it does come into their mind, and you're like, really?
Yeah. And this is my whole thing is that they shouldn't be using recently retired ex-players or ex-players who work in the media. It's just too many grey areas here,
I don't think the AFL the AFL industry has never been one to worry about conflicts.
No.
That's not really something anyone worries about.
Conflicts of interest
As I heard Eddie say once, it's not a conflict of interest, it's a convergence of interests.
It's like it's not a rort. It's only a rort if you're not in on it.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things, it was an amazing weekend of football, actually. I went along to the Sydney...
Can I just butt in there for a second?
Oh, yeah, sure.
We've had enough of the commentators over the weekend telling us what an amazing season it's been too.
Well, they're right, though, for once.
I know, but it's like he had a basketball background.
Well, Serge, it's been an amazing season.
It has, 19 rounds. 19 rounds, you couldn't pick a winner.
And this week was no different. I went to the Sydney Hawthorn.
Oh, you did too?
It was a terrible game.
Yeah.
Even though it was close, it was strangely not that exciting. Yeah. And the style of football was
I must admit,
appalling.
I watched it the other night, and I was pretty keen to watch this game because he thought this will be a cracker. But yeah, I must admit, I kind of kept losing interest in it a bit.
It wasn't good.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that was quite interesting over the weekend, as well as we had Jared McVeigh got a kiss from Will Langford at that game.
And he cut up pretty rough about it too, old Jared.
Well, you think about this, right? This is where there's some things in football that happen regularly and no one even commentates or mentions it, that if you did it in a normal workplace, you would get a discussion. You would get hauled in front of someone with people and culture in their title.
There'd be HR involved.
Yeah, and so just kissing someone at work on the cheek when they're not.
But someone from a different company from your. It's all very well to pat your teammate on the arse. But
well, that's not allowed in the workplace.
In the work, that's what I'm saying. In the workplace, you'd have to answer.
Yeah.
But especially if it's someone from another company. Like, imagine if a sales rep from another company walks in your office, you just walk up and plant one on his cheek, on his or her cheek.
Well, it doesn't matter. A lot of people don't really like being hugged or kissed particularly. No, but on the AFL, strangers. Nothing happens. Everyone just goes, oh, yeah. And it's not the first time because we had Brereton famously laid a very big kiss in his playing career.
Billy Duckworth.
Yeah. And then you had, Hodge kissed Buddy.
Yeah.
Now, at least they're sort of friends.
There wasn't much kissing going on the other night between the two of them.
Oh, I just think Luke Hodge, when Buddy came and collected him high, Hodge looked at him and goes, is this the way we play the game, is it?
Yeah.
Because Hodge would never do that.
Yeah. Are we going to do this tonight, are we? Okay, fine, let's do it then.
Hodge would never just hit someone like that.
Of course not.
So that was kind of interesting, the whole kissing thing. I did find it interesting that was being debated and people say, oh, it's just not on.
Yeah.
But in any other workplace, that's like, you did what?
Just this morning, Mike Sheen's come out, he uses his fully titled, the highly respected Mike Sheen, and said Jared McVeigh's overreacted by cutting up rough over this one.
Yeah.
I think Jared McVeigh said it showed a lack of respect. He said, and I think he's working on the HR kind of angle when he says that. But
well,
I think,
at least buy him a drink.
Yeah, well,
first.
And Will Langford's, he's a young.
Well, apparently he did it twice.
Did he?
Yeah, the first one didn't, because McVeigh came out and said, I tried it earlier in the night too. No. So it wasn't
the first one.
He didn't get the hint.
There wasn't a tonguey. Yeah.
No means no. He didn't get the hint at all. Anyway, this is where footy throws up interesting things that you just don't get in the normal world. Collingwood magnificently blew a 50-point lead against the Crows on the weekend.
How big was this?
One thing that was amazing first is that Adelaide let themselves get 50 points down.
Well, this was your classic. I didn't watch it. I was in and out, but it was on in the car.
Right.
And at one stage I got there, Collingwood were 44 points in front early in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And I thought, they've put the Crows to bed here. And then I didn't hear anything until after the game. I got, what?
Oh,
it's been a draw?
You could sort of sense...
wish I'd watched it now.
You could sort of sense in the third quarter that it was starting to turn, but you didn't know if it would keep going on like that.
Yeah.
And then towards the very end, it looked like Collingwood had steadied.
Yeah.
And you thought, they've blown it now. Because I was sitting back going, this is going to be great. Collingwood got to lose from here. And it looked like they were going to lose by a bit, The Crows were really coming. To the credit of Collingwood, they did arrest it a bit. But it was just amazing when you sort of just felt all along something was going to happen.
Right. Oh.
It does raise questions, though, about the Crows. They've done this a few times, and they were against a half-decent side.
But they got out of jail. I mean, a draw's not a win, but...
They celebrated like it was a win. They sort of
got out of jail, whereas in other games they haven't.
I was like, they still drew with the 13th ranked team in their first. It was not a great
result for them, no.
They should have, if they played like they did in the second half, they would have won by a lot. So it was interesting because a lot of the Collingwood supporters, they thought, well, this is a great day for us.
Yeah.
And Buckley was not happy afterwards.
No, he wouldn't have been because 50 points in front. They could have gone on and beaten Adelaide by 10, 12 goals.
Well, it would have been a huge
thing for him.
Yeah, he would have really raised questions about... Because their problem still is, say they decide Buckley's not theirs to go forward, which a lot of people think they've already made that decision.
Yeah.
But say he'd won this, and that would have been 3 in a row and all that sort of stuff, and he'd maybe won a couple more on the way home. You go, well, he hasn't been great, but he's going somewhere with them.
Yeah.
Who else is out there?
Yeah.
See, this is the big question for Collingwood is I personally don't think Buckley is going to be around. I don't think he's really shown enough over 6 whole years to... Because they keep saying, he's won as many as some people like Alistair Clarkson had in their first 6 years. And I'm like, Alistair Clarkson inherited a mess at Hawthorn.
Yeah, he started from the bottom.
Yeah, Buckley's inherited a team that had won a premiership and made their grand final and was one of the youngest teams in the comp.
Yeah.
And has managed to manufacture a barely winning
into the ground.
So who knows? But it would have made it a bit interesting of the decision making, but... it was amazing to watch it. The other one that was kind of interesting on the day was watching the Port Adelaide.
Now, I did watch the end of this.
So, Port Adelaide against St Kilda. With St Kilda about 10 points up with about 2 minutes to go. It was not long. It was
a minute 50 on the clock, 10 points in front.
Yeah.
And you thought, this is Lee Matthews' old rule. If there's less minutes than goals you need, it's game over.
Done.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is you could see the Power fans were just streaming out of the stadium after St Kilda kicked the goal and went up by that amount. And like a bomb scare had been rung in. It was like they were just fleeing. And then, of course, there was a snap at goal and Port get back into it.
Yeah.
And then at the stoppage, Paddy Ryder, if you haven't seen it, taps the ball over. They're just outside their 50-metre arc and straight in to Robbie Gray off a boundary throw and taps it straight into Robbie Gray who's running onto it.
As you've ever seen.
Right into his hands. And you'd think Robbie Gray would have 5 guys on him in this situation.
That's all I would have to do.
He had so much space around him. He might as well be on the International Space Station. That's how much space. He could have built a shopping centre around him and not touched an opposition player.
All they needed to do, St Kilda, was to have every player run into that stoppage You go, who are their big guns? Robbie Gray. He's the most talented player on the ground.
Well, they're all on the wrong side of the stoppage too.
You put 4 blokes on Robbie Gray. Even if Paddy Ryder hits it to Robbie Gray, you have 4 blokes jump on top of him. There's a ball up, the siren goes.
Yeah.
You kill the contest, you win the game.
Because there was about 15 seconds left or something. He kicked it with 11. He kicked it
with 7.
Yeah.
So there was about 11 seconds when the ball was thrown in.
It was amazing. You couldn't have. You couldn't have set up a better way to if you were trying to let the Port Power win, you couldn't have, if you were St Kilda, you couldn't have drawn up a better way to let them win.
My first thought when I saw it was what a magnificent tap to
it was
Robbie
a great
Gray
tap.
that was. But I was thinking, poor old Alan Richardson, how do you deal with that?
Yeah,
what do you say to your players?
That's
that was
not
a shocker.
Like the players just weren't doing anything right there. So that was amazing. But it was fun that a lot of Power supporters didn't see that.
No, exactly.
They did not see it actually happen.
They would have been out in the car park or hear the roar or what's going on, you know.
Have you ever done that? Left early and then found out you've won?
I have. I can't remember the specific game, but I have.
Yeah.
It was a Melbourne game, obviously. I think we're a few goals behind with 5 minutes to play. And let's get out of here. We'll get to Richmond Station early.
Yeah.
And then you're walking around.
Go get a donut.
Yeah. You hear the roar. Hear another roar. And you think, Richmond have kicked another 2 goals, you know. But they're actually Melbourne goals. And this was in the day before you could check on your app on your phone.
Yeah.
And I just assumed that these consecutive roars from the crowd were from the other team just getting further and further away. It wasn't until I got home. Realised that Melbourne had kicked 4 goals in 4 minutes and won the game.
Well, that happened to a lot of Power fans on the weekend. The other thing that happened, talking to the D's, is North Melbourne. I had some questions about the Port ones. Jordan Ashley wrote in, who gives up more easily, Port Adelaide supporters or Bernard Tomic? It would be pretty close.
Yeah, it's a good question, that. Not too many Port Adelaide supporters with a Ferrari. No, I'd say.
That's right. Andrew Lockwood wrote in, what was going on that was more important than a hard tag on Robbie Gray?
Very good question.
It looked like St Kilda were already celebrating.
Yeah, they'd already decided the game was over, obviously. It was an appalling piece of on-field lack of leadership there. That's where a Luke Hodge or maybe a Jordan Lewis, they would not have let that happen. Yeah. Even with 10 seconds to go. They would have been yelling and screaming
for players
to pick up Robbie Gray.
Yeah.
Somebody pick up Robbie Gray. And if not, they'd have done it themselves.
Mark Woolridge wrote, given the Saints were 8th on the ladder with 5 minutes left, this is the live ladder, does that mean Port beat a team inside the top 8 finally? Well,
I guess technically.
Well, I don't know, because once they got back in front... And then the siren
out of the live
suddenly, they beat a team outside.
It's a good technical question, but I'm not sure.
It's sort of like Schrodinger's cat. At what point? Anyway, the Port needed that, because if they were going to lose that, it would have been. Port Adelaide seemed to be, despite their best efforts, continuing to rise up the ladder. Do you know what I mean? Like, they seem to lose to teams they should,
I can't remember, other than this, I can't remember them having won too many recently. But they're still hanging around.
Yeah, they've had some terrible performances, but, and this was another one, but they managed to just get out of that.
You can't see them doing much in the finals, but then again,
who knows?
Who would know? It's been an amazing year.
Now, North Melbourne beat the Demons down in Tasmania again.
Couldn't you see this coming?
Now, it means it's 11 years since Melbourne last beat North Melbourne. Yeah. To give you an idea, when North Melbourne last lost to Melbourne, to the Demons, Sav Rocker was playing for them.
Was he?
Yeah. It was around 2006.
I think David Neitz kicked a bag that day for Melbourne.
Yeah, that's how long ago it is. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it is. It's staggering.
Yeah, and
they showed some of the highlights of that game on Fox.
The 2006 game?
The 2006 game they showed at half time, just to prove that point how long ago it was. And you see Melbourne running around, there's old Clint Bizzle.
Was it Uze?
There's Nathan Carroll playing at fullback.
Oh, those were the days.
Yeah. Mark Jamar without the beard.
That was a long time ago. So that's how long it's been. It's been almost 4,000 days since Melbourne have beaten North. It's just one of those bizarre streaks.
And North will finish second or third bottom this year.
Yeah.
Melbourne do it every year. I mean, this could cost them a spot in the finals. And like last time they did make the finals, they lost to Carlton twice that year, who finished on the bottom.
It would be so Melbourne to miss out on finals from here.
Yeah, it would.
It would be peak Melbourne.
To drop from fourth.
With an easy run home.
18, yeah.
This is the thing, they've got a very easy run home, and North were one where you looked at and went, despite the historical differences, you look at it and go, they're one of the worst teams in the comp. And then on top of that, this was it was salt in the wound, rubbed twice on the weekend for Melbourne supporters. One, Jesse Hogan
broke his collarbone.
And that guy has worse luck in the history of time. Yeah. So you got that. And then on top of that, you also have the fact that, despite North winning a close game, North can't win a close game to save their lives, except against Melbourne. So suddenly Melbourne supporters, I'm thinking, gee, this is a terrible game. We're not playing well, but it's close.
Yeah.
North
lose the close ones.
The close ones. And then I thought, but that's what's going to hurt. That's going to be the stings me.
And as Melbourne got the good run home, I think got St Kilda, Brisbane and Collingwood, it would be such a Melbourne thing to have to beat Collingwood in the round 23 to stay in the finals.
That's right, like to lose to St Kilda and, I mean, I can't see them losing to Brisbane because Brisbane, but,
you never know.
I am a bit panicked now.
Yeah,
I've gone from, this is a great year to...
Yeah,
this is going to be the one that hurts me the most.
Typical Melbourne fashion, I've just about written them off already.
Another thing we should add that Sean Carroll wrote in, did the AFL find a way of stopping North from tanking by making them play Melbourne late in the season?
Good question.
They can't pretend to lose that one.
No.
Do you think they tried really hard and it's just impossible for them to actually lose to Melbourne?
I think whatever happens... The gods just align. I did it last year down in Tassie.
Now, something interesting is happening up in Sydney with ANZ Stadium, which I know you and I are huge fans of ANZ Stadium. It's one of the great agricultural, centres in the world.
Draft horses trot around there during this Sydney Easter show. There is no greater...
Or the exposed bolt that ripped Jared Ruffhead's back open.
Well, it just goes to prove that they just don't care up there.
It's a terrible stadium. Anyway, the AFL and the NRL are in a bit of an argument over this because there are plans to transform ANZ Stadium into a rectangular venue, so to make it for soccer and rugby league and union for all time, meaning it wouldn't be able to host cricket or football anymore if they did this, but they want to make it more appealing. The NRL is hoping the state government will use a chunk of $1.6 billion it's set aside for stadium upgrades to ANZ Stadium. And I tell you what, it's going to cost $1.6 billion to turn that into a stadium worth going to.
They just rip up some of the grass and put seats in.
Yeah, basically. The Giants, though, are saying they don't want to because they want to still use it to stage their marquee matches.
This is the GWS Giants we're talking about.
That's the one.
Because they need an 80,000 seat stadium, don't they?
Do they what?
Yeah.
Got a plan for the fastest growing region in Australia, Serge.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
They say that they've had some big games, like where they've played Sydney and things like that, where they've had 60,000 and things like that. But it shows you their ambition, at least. They
are ambitious. I'll grant you that.
I'm actually on the NRL side, because if the AFL never goes to ANZ Stadium again, it will be too soon for me. I'm quite happy for it to become a rectangle and have it out of.
Why does the AFL care that much?
Oh, because they want to be able to have their idea is
if it's let's say it's a Sydney Collingwood game, when they're 1 and 2 on the ladder at some stage,
or GWS in Sydney when they're top, that's when they're thinking of, and they're thinking for finals. They say it's again,
the SCG's too small,
but that's the.
Wasn't the AFL build another one in Sydney?
Oh, that's a shot they need.
Yeah, so build their own
one up there.
The Lakemba. The Lakembas.
God, we're struggling in Australia when they're willing to spend $1.6 billion to upgrade ANZ Stadium.
It's a shocking joint.
It's quite soulless.
Oh, the whole area is soulless.
Yeah.
I mean, it was great during the Olympics.
Well, yeah, but that's the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, you expect it to be. But ever since then, have you ever been to the Sydney Easter show?
No.
You don't. No, don't.
Why have you been doing?
Oh, it's a long and ugly bit of story, but
were you showing some cows or something?
Well, yeah, I was.
Were you?
I became a carny for a couple of weeks. Put it that way. Me and my entire family became carny folk.
Were you running from the law? What was the reason?
I was running.
Were you a rodeo clown?
No, I was running one of those, where you throw the basketball through the ring.
Right.
5 shots for $10.
Did you have a basketball background?
Yeah. 5 shots for $10. With people not realising that the ring is half an inch smaller than the actual ball.
It's rigged.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they're all shonky as hell. I know that'll come as a shock to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Sydney Easter Show avoided.
So you were doing that?
Yeah, something along those lines.
God.
Can't say too
were
much.
you really selling cocaine or something? It sounds like very dodgy. You sure you weren't a rodeo clown?
No, I wasn't a rodeo clown. I did meet a rodeo clown, though.
Who?
Oh, I don't know. He was.
Do you know who was a rodeo clown?
Who?
Dean the Weapon Robinson.
Was he?
Yeah, of Essendon Saga
He was a rodeo clown.
Yeah. So naturally you'd hire him to run a supplements program. That's true. He used to be...
He was a rodeo clown.
Yeah.
And a basketball background.
Well, I don't know if he had a basketball background.
But he certainly had a rodeo clown background.
You never hear someone say that about a football player. He has a rodeo clown background. So I don't think I'd hire a rodeo clown for anything but a job of being a rodeo clown.
Yeah, you wouldn't think there'd be much room to move.
Can you
beyond
imagine that? He suggested recommending Stephen Dank to Essendon and they go, we should listen to him. He used to be a rodeo clown.
Yeah, he used to, he's brave. He used to run out there in big floppy pyjamas and a red nose and those big clown shoes and distract the bull.
A raging bull.
Yeah.
Not really a job I'd really seek out.
No.
Yeah, I'm sort of avoiding wild animals as much.
And you'd have to be pretty sure of yourself to do that, and then afterwards say, "No, from now on, I want to be known as the Weapon."
And he gave himself that nickname.
It's against the rules.
Anyone that gives themselves their own nickname, you just have to question them from there on in.
As I've said before,
unless it's a self-deprecating nickname.
Yeah,
that's the only
but
time
not a
it might
pump
be
yourself
okay.
up one. It's like when George Costanza wanted to be called T-Bone when he worked for the New York Yankees, and nobody would have a bar of it.
No, rightly so. One thing that happened this week is CrownBet, which is a betting agency, and I think CrownBet. No, I don't know if they are. Is CrownBet the official AFL betting agency? I can't remember. It's all very cozy.
It's Sportsbet.
No, it's not Sportsbet.
I think it could be CrownBet. I don't know. I lose track of them all.
Anyway, they've accidentally breached the AFL's $2.5 billion broadcast rights deal.
Yeah, I'll rap about this. This is hilarious.
Because they were... So there's commercial agreements in place around streaming of... you got TV rights, and then part of that TV rights deal is streaming online.
Which a lot of people do these days.
Which a lot of people do. Now, it used to be on Telstra you could stream through the app, which you still can.
Yeah.
And you used to be able to do it on iPads and various things. But in this latest round of the TV rights, you can't stream on anything bigger than an iPhone.
That's right.
For certain streaming partners like Telstra. And CrownBet are one of the ones that, because everyone loves gambling, so why not integrate footy into gambling?
Encourage it.
More so.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to show it above iPhone size. So if you put it on if you can't put it on, if you put it on an iPad, the AFL app, for example, I don't have the CrownBet app, but assuming it only shows up as big as an iPhone on the screen. So you've got a giant iPad or bigger iPad, and
or a big desktop or something.
And so Foxtel's the only one that will stream because they pay for it to be able to show it at iPad size. But what CrownBet have been done is their app has let people be able to mirror or project the phone onto a TV connected to the net. So you can now stream it at full size.
That's handy to know.
Very handy. Well, it's been shut down now. And apparently this has been well known by a lot of people. So a lot of people have been signing up to CrownBet, putting like $5 into a betting account, never betting, but just so they can stream, watching the footy for free up on their big TV.
20 rounds, the AFL to notice this.
Well, someone's noticed it. Fairfax Media got onto it, The Age, I think it was, and got onto it and found out. And so they made some inquiries. CrownBet didn't know. that they were breaching all along. And they said it's the app's. The app says it's technical issues,
right?
And
with the app,
and with Fairfax contacted them to say, "Did you know it could do this?" And they took the stream down almost straight away and said, technical issues. As in, we've just breached a $2.5 billion.
Just wait till the NBN comes in. It wouldn't have streamed anyway.
Oh, that's right. So anyway, so then they took it down, and so now you can't do it anymore. So the only way you can stream it is purely now on if you have to
on your iPhone.
Well, you have to pay the Foxtel or watch it on iPhone sites through.
Yeah.
I think if you're a Telstra customer, you get that live pass free.
Yes, you do.
But if you're an Optus or something, you have to pay.
Yeah, and like
buy Foxtel.
Yeah. So I'm not big on watching the footy on my phone.
Well, what do you do at dinner parties then?
I don't go to dinner parties.
I find being able to stream on the phone one of the great things of all time.
I guess I find it frustrating. It's too. I mean, it sounds obvious, but it's too small. So watching cricket on your phone, you can't see the ball.
But it's a lot better than having to talk to people.
Well,
like if you're out socially.
Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't do it. even when the streaming doesn't work, I would prefer to hold my phone sideways and stare at a blank screen than talk to people.
I remember streaming a game a few weeks ago on my phone, and I was at a funeral. And I was getting some pretty nasty looks.
Oh, well,
and I said to them...
Especially because you're barracking.
Yeah, and I said to them, it's what he would have wanted. So let's hope Crownbeck gets sued or something, but I bet they don't. I bet a cozy, like, we're sorry.
Yeah, there'll be some
sorry we did
handshake deal.
So anyway, there you go. It's good to see the betting companies just getting so involved with the AFL.
Also, they should.
It's great for the kids.
They should. It's great for the game and more pokies.
Did you see Hawthorn came top of the ladder of who got the most money from pokies this year again?
Yeah.
As I said, the Can't Feed Your Family Club. That's the whole thing. I love all the pokey stuff. They're just so ridiculous when they then bang on about community and everything.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like the clubs, there's something in everyone's contract to say that a certain amount, or it's actually a fairly substantial percentage of their pokey stream is supposed to go back to the community. Yeah. But the clubs always milk it down to about 1% and say, it's gone to local football or something. And
it's gone to local football.
Yeah, right.
As in us.
Yeah.
Now, the ARU, remember a long time ago, they announced that within 72 hours they were going to announce they were getting rid of either the Melbourne Rebels, this is in the Super Rugby competition, or the Western Force based in Perth. They were going to shut down.
It's over 100 days ago now.
It's more than that, and then they didn't, and it's all become a big mess. It's now looking like they're going to sort of start getting down to brass tacks of actually deciding who to boot.
Right.
Now, all along, it's been the Western Force in Perth seen as the more likely ones to get the boot. Now, Twiggy Forest, mining magnate, he's come out and he's a big supporter of the Western Force. He's called on the ARU to merge the Melbourne Rebels with the Canberra Brumbies.
Right.
And then to keep the Force in place. That's his idea, which is nice for him to say two other teams should merge.
Yeah, so what
Canberra and Melbourne.
So would that would be the end of the Melbourne Rebels?
Well, I don't know how
they'd still play out of Canberra.
Well, I don't know. I think who knows how a merger would work out. The thing is, Canberra have been a success, arguably the most successful franchise.
Brumbies is probably the most recognisable franchise there is.
Well, the Waratahs and the Reds have not done as well as over the whole. So it's sort of like the most. Why would you do that? The other thing he said if that can't happen, another option should be to merge the Western Force with Melbourne Rebels.
There you go.
To me, having a team that is having a team based in both Melbourne and Perth, slight issue of geography.
3,000 kilometres apart. Okay. Where do we put the office? The office we'll meet you halfway. He adds, though, that the way he would see that working is there would be a rugby academy in Melbourne, which would have a pathway to the Western Force. Oh, an academy with a pathway.
So that doesn't seem like a merger. It seems more like a takeover.
Yeah. What's in it for Twiggy Forest?
He just says he's a big supporter of the Western Force.
Right.
Well, he should just buy them and prop them up if he's so keen.
Just
he'd tell the AAU.
Look after them.
But this is the problem. They've promised that they're going to get rid of one to the South Africans and the New Zealanders, regardless of even if they can get the money for it. So to have the extra one. So that's just the way it's going to happen anyway.
And we still have no idea what really is going to happen.
No, it makes no sense whatsoever, the whole thing. Getting to our listeners' questions, Patrick Carroll, he's written in, what is more threatening, Adam Goode's imaginary spear, Sam Mitchell's imaginary syringe, or Michael Phelps' imaginary shark? Well, it's hard to know because we don't know what was in Sam Mitchell's imaginary injection.
And the spear was just a one-off single imaginary weapon. Well, I think the shark is more threatening.
It didn't look very threatening, though, when it did that little jump out of the water again.
It was... it is a good question. What's more threatening, an imaginary weapon or a computer-generated image?
They don't like miming in the AFL.
No.
You think about it.
So they shouldn't.
The Sam Mitchell thing wasn't appreciated.
So rodeo clowns are a form of mime, aren't they?
Well, not really, because there's a real
There
bull.
is actually a genuine bull that could kill them, yeah.
Maybe that...
An imaginary spear isn't going to help a rodeo clown.
Look, I don't find imaginary spears that threatening.
No.
You know, I know why people got pretty upset. It's not a real thing. Darren Gladman wrote, I forgot that I'm a member of 3 or 4 other football clubs, and I think my mum once bought me a membership to Geelong. Although I've sworn allegiance to Collingwood, do you see any problems if I get a seat in the Senate?
I'm just handing the T-shirt to Darren straight up there.
Oh, hey, there you go. It's your week.
Yeah, I think so. He's taken politics, he's mixed it up with football, he's brought in Geelong and Collingwood and given all of them a sort of backhanded whack.
Do you think... I don't think you should be allowed to be a member of more than one team.
See, Dermot Brereton's a member of about 8, 9 teams, but he justifies it by saying, you know, I like to support them. It's $150 a year. I can afford it, so you know it's good for the clubs.
Well, that's very nice of him in some ways, but I mean, you know, why would you? Well, I hope all the other teams in the AFL die. Like that's the kind of
one left standing.
Yeah, that's kind of thought process most supporters bring to you know the other teams.
You've got to hate the other teams with it.
Well, it's like when GWS say, you know, Dave Matthews and the Dave Matthews Band and Kevin Sheedy are going, oh, well, everyone just hates us. And you go, you're welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Welcome to the AFL.
Yeah.
Everyone hates every other team.
Yeah.
There's not many... like, the only way you can be liked as one of the other teams is you have to be like the Bulldogs and steadily lose for 50-plus years for people to start getting into the mind, the headspace of going...
they're my second team.
Yeah. You know, and then once if they win a few... You know, once they start winning, everyone's like, screw them.
Yeah, they're not my second team anymore.
Like, the minute they won the premiership, everyone's like going, oh, they're throwers.
Yeah.
Like, the romance was over pretty quick.
Yeah. People here, they'll turn pretty quick.
Yeah, they cheats. That's like it turned overnight. So, you know, that's just the way it is. So you're going to give it to Darren. Yeah. Well done, Darren. Now, we're back on Thursday.
We will be.
Thursday. Just trying to remember what day it is.
Yeah, it's now Monday.
So we'll have some more info on Nick Riewoldt, if that's happening. It's that time of year we're getting into everyone retiring.
People retiring. There's, you know, like Big Nick, he'll get a good ovation on grand final day when he goes around in the car.
Yeah.
I always like watching that. You see the champions get the ovation, and then you see the others go past, and you tell the crowd has no idea who they are, but they're always there with their kid wearing their. And you've got to look at what number the kid's wearing on his jumper to work out who the bloke in the suit is. Yeah.
And then we'll get James Hird getting a warm welcome too.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
That's going to be amazing.
And another thing, as you said last week, imagine if Essendon made the grand final.
Well, they sort of made that not look likely after their performance on the weekend. So,
there's still a lot to look forward to.
Serge, it's a great season.
It's been an amazing season. It's been an unpredictable season, and I just don't know what more one could say about this season.
Oh, can't say enough. Now, if you haven't bought a ticket to our show, get along and do it because we're
Get
getting
on
into
board.
the last. Some of them have got only a few left of seats and stuff. So we'd love to see you. It's going to be a lot of fun, and that's kicking off in the bye week. So from August 31st onwards, 6 cities and 6 nights.
That's it.
We'll see you all then, and we will see you on Thursday. Have a great week.